First and foremost, to the Jimenez family, I want them to know how truly devastated I am for my involvement in the loss of their loved one, Jorge Jimenez. The grief and pain his family is feeling at this time is simply put unimaginable. Julie, my family, and I are heartbroken. I love this community, and to see so many of my fellow community members rally around the Jimenez family is a reminder of how special Central New York is. I thought we had a great defensive first half. I thought that we made some shots. Our biggest struggle this year has been making shots when we've lost. The games we've won this year at home and on the road, we've shot in the 40s, mid-40s from the three-point line, and around 45 to 50 from the three. Tonight, we didn't shoot well. But our offense really is the difference. They're going to score points. They're a tremendous offensive team. If you can hold them in the 70s, it's a pretty good effort. But offensively, we didn't get the movement we need to, and we didn't make shots when we got them. But again, coming back, we played a great game against Louisville, and we did a lot of good things tonight. We can build on this. Moret's playing great. Obviously he's got a little disadvantage on the defensive end, but offensively he has an advantage against centers, and he was really good in the first half tonight. Really, he got us some separation there. At the end of the day, we've got to score. We got to get a little better movement and we got to make more shots to win.
Welcome to the Cuse Militia Podcast with those two unapologetically biased, orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
What's up, Cuse Nation? Thanks for tuning in to Cuse Militia Podcast with Sean and Joe. If you like it, please subscribe. The universal handle for the socials is @Cuse Militia. Go there, join the militia. We are the only Syracuse sports podcast centered around giving you, the fans, a voice. So the Orange failed to make shots and free throws down the stretch. There was an opportunity to overcome the worst officiating I think I've seen all year. But Duke turned it up in the last 5 minutes, and Syracuse loses by 10, 75-65. You'll hear from us. We'll hear from you. And Syracuse heads to North Carolina to take on the Tar Heels Tuesday, February 26th at 9 o'clock. So that should be fun, 9 o'clock game. Real quick. Yay. Real quick, if you are trying to buy tickets to something, anything, I've got 5% off for you. Go to TixBlitz.com. TixBlitz is the official ticket provider for the Armchair Media Network. Unlike other ticketing providers that sneak in all the extra fees and unexplained service charges, at TixBlitz, the price you see is the price you pay. Don't let unnecessary fees prevent you from seeing the sporting event or concert that you wish to choose to go to. Go to TixBlitz.com and enter the promo code ARMCHAIR at checkout to receive 5% off your total ticket purchase. That's TixBlitz.com, promo code ARMCHAIR. TixBlitz, guaranteed seats, guaranteed emotions. So, speaking of emotions, an emotional week for Syracuse. Absolutely the toughest press conference coach has ever had to give. And, the moment of silence, everything, it was great that they did all that. I wouldn't expect any less. I'm glad Coach went out and coached and did what he did. I feel like that's probably was the best for, I think, the best for the team, the best for him and the community to all. Don't you think, Joe?
Yeah. I definitely think it was the right thing. Yeah.
But all right, we're going to get into the game, but first, I'm going to drop an extra episode this week sometime. I was just playing around, and I've got something I was going to do here and there. I was playing it for the off season, but I wanted to try one to see how it would go and how I was going to have to do it. It's just like the history. It's Syracuse history stuff. So whether it be a player or, for instance, this one's about mascots. So the history of Syracuse mascots will drop sometime this week. So be on the lookout for that. So I'd love to know what everybody thinks of it too. Because it took me forever to put together. So if it ain't worth it, I ain't doing it. What else, Joe? Was that it? That's it, I think.
Yep.
Okay. Joe's got quadrants set up for you, the latest on the net rankings and how that falls into the quadrant system. But first, the Orange dropped to 18-9 overall and 9-5 in conference play after a lackluster second half. An early 9-1 run by Duke in the second half would turn a four-point deficit into a 4-point lead with an opportunity to take advantage of Duke with Zion out. Of course, there would be a hot hand to make up for his absence, and that was Alex O'Connell. He would hit 5 threes when it counted and finished with 20 points. It was the tale of two halves, like I mentioned. Orange shot 37.8 in the first and 30.3 in the second, and 1 for 11 from 3 in the second half. Just abysmal. So, Mark... he was as good as ever, in my opinion, doing Mark things all over the place. 10 points, 1 block, 3 steals, and 5 rebounds. I mean, he even shoved one down the throat there, so that was a beautiful thing. He did everything he could, in my opinion, to keep his team in this game, and maybe hosed by a couple bad calls, but he eventually fouled out. Frank Howard started strong, and he finished with 10 points and 6 rebounds, but he fizzled out. Tyus, he had a hard time despite leading the team in scoring. He went 4 for 17 from the floor and never really got into his rhythm. In fact, in the last 3 games, Tyus is 11 for 40, 27.5% from the field. If Syracuse is going to win big games coming down the stretch, going into March, he's going to have better numbers than that, I think, plain and simple. And I think he will. But it's been 3 games in a row. It's been pretty rough. So he followed him up with 12.7 rebounds. He only hit 1 for 5 from distance. Brissett 3 for 13, 0 for 3 from behind the arc. 6 rebounds though, and he only finished with 7 points. That's not going to get it done. So hitting 1 for 4 from the line, that didn't help either. So Syracuse, they had the opportunities late, and they failed to take advantage. And like Joe and I talked after the game last night, the box score tells the story, shooting 34.3% from the field, 21.7% from 3. They reverted again at the line, 63.2%, and Syracuse was out-rebounded 44-40. They lost in pretty much every category other than turnovers, which they did hold off Duke. With 7 turnovers or 13, and Duke normally, I think they average about 16 turnovers a game. So, I mean, if you're going to take anything good out of that, that's what I would point to. But so Joe, Zion out, Barrett took control of the middle, and Syracuse without a strong center, obviously very vulnerable, pretty easily against a team with this caliber of players at it.
Yeah, well, R.J. Barrett, he took over. Obviously, it's been interesting to see the 2 different Duke teams that we've played, and neither of them have been them fully healthy. So I think that they were a better defensive team last night with the team that they had. I thought Cam Reddish played really good defense, and Trey Jones, those guys were really, really tough on Tyus and Frank and the guards that were bringing the ball up. And yeah, I mean, there were some calls that obviously could have helped us be in a better position. I mean, Duke had, 2? We got down to the 20 seconds left in the first half, and Duke only had 2 fouls called on them for the first half.
One was intentional. One was...
they're sitting there, following on purpose to run the clock out so that we don't get a good shot at the end of the half, because they had fouls to give. Right,
and one of those was against Frank, and he was in shooting motion.
Oh, yeah. Well, you had that. There's a couple different things. I don't really know.
The out-of-bounds, there was 2 extra possessions Duke got on out-of-bounds plays that were off their players.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that one time it was a charge. I thought Cam Reddish had lowered his shoulder.
Who took the charge for Duke when their foot was on the circle? I can't remember, but they were supposedly took a charge, but he was inside the restricted area. So. Oh,
I don't know.
You don't remember that one? Okay. Well,
no,
there were so many.
I don't remember that, but and then there's the I don't know the exact rule, I guess, but I thought that any type of basketball play where you get hit in the head could be reviewable. I mean, I've seen times in college basketball where a guy gets hit in the face and no foul or nothing was called, but yet they still go to the monitor. So I don't really know what that was all about. But I mean, he came in and kind of flew in and hit Brissett definitely right underneath the ear on the jaw with his elbow. I don't know what that was all about or why that didn't get looked at.
Well, I think I have a theory on that, and like the same with you. I don't really know the rule, but I think So if there's nothing called and they go to the monitor, if they don't think it's flagrant, they don't call anything. If there is something called, obviously, which should have been, they would go to the monitor and see if it's flagrant as well. But if there's nothing called, I don't think they can call it just a regular personal foul. Do you see what I'm saying?
I guess that's like one of those things where I'm confused on because I have seen in the past times where nothing was called and someone got hit in the face and they went back and looked at it. So I think it's just one of those instances where, I mean, I know that there was something like that with a couple years back with our in football, in college football, with something with Syracuse, and the helmet of the quarterback came out and Dungy had to sit out one play, but then another game it happened to us and that person didn't have to sit out. And like some rules, I guess, I think don't get handled right by some of the officiating crews. And I just don't know if that was an instance of that or if I've just seen instances in other games where they look at it when they probably shouldn't. So again, maybe that's something I'll look up. I'm kind of interested now. It's piqued my interest to want to figure out what that rule is, but it's hard for me. From what I understood or what I thought was if you get hit in the face, that can be looked at.
I think I believe you're right, and I just don't think it was flagrant, so they didn't call anything. I don't think you can go back and implement a personal foul.
But they have calls that are not flagrant, but just because of the fact that you hit him in the face. You know, I mean, look at the Funderburk there against.
But there was a foul called first.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. I don't know if that's what needs to happen, but like I said, I've seen instances where fouls haven't been called, and they've still went and looked.
Right.
So
okay, well, I think I understand that one, but you're right.
Either way, there's a bunch of things that could have happened, that could have helped, but like you said, officiating aside,
I mean, they called a charge when
six.
Who was it that lowered their shoulder? Cam Radish, when he just like straight barreled. So he just lowered his shoulder and bowled into someone. They call a charge. Or they called the block. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was Dolce.
Yeah. So garbage.
And then there's a couple
calls
here and there. I mean, Alex O'Connell with a 4-point play. I didn't see the foul.
Nope.
Buddy Boeheim looked like he got fouled on a 3-1 time. So again, there's just little things here and there. But again, like we talked about,
shooting arm got hit going for a layup.
Yep.
No call.
With 6:43 to go in the second half, we got it within 2. Elijah Hughes made a pair of free throws, got it within 2, and we were still right there to still be able to, But
that's kind of where we have to. That's kind of where we have to. That's on Syracuse at that point. From that point.
Well, and that was the thing is at some point, Tyus, but he might not have to do everything like he did as far as down in Cameron when we played earlier, and all the shots he made and scoring 30-plus points. But even in games like this, there's got to be a time where he steps up and goes on a little run and helps the team out. So I thought that the team played good enough up until that point to keep it close, and I thought the last 5-6 minutes that should have been Tyus. I thought Brissett was playing good, and who knows if getting hit in the head kind of because it took him out for a little while, and who knows how much it messed with him, but. Tyus has got to step up in just the last. I think we scored 9 points in the last 7 minutes. 6:43. Whenever Elijah Hughes, hit that, we were at 56 points. We only end up with 65. So, and what was that? Tyus Battle hit a couple late free throws and a 3. I think he had 5 points in the last minute. So, you're talking about 4 points. We went through a stretch there where we just didn't hit a shot and couldn't score. And again, I just look at it as. Enough of the team had up to that point scored enough and helped out enough to put us in position to win.
A couple sloppy offensive possessions around that time led to a couple stolen balls.
Yeah, and Duke played really good too. O'Connell was on fire, and R.J. Barrett was throwing up. He was making everything he threw up.
Well, we said that Syracuse was going to have to shoot well to win this game. That's it. And they didn't down the stretch. Unfortunately. I would love to blame this on the refs. I was furious at the refs. I was freaking livid last night. But at the end of the game, Joe, like you said, they're within 2 with 6-something left. You got to close that game out at home like that. You've just got to make your shots. You can't let the refs in this situation be the deciding factor. It's not like It's not like at Cameron Indoor when C.J. Fair. Went for the layup against Rodney Hood, and he was called for a charge. That was bull. and I think we all know that. But so anyway, all right, you want to hear from the fans?
Sure.
All right.
It's time to hear from you, the loudmouths from the Loud House, the best damn college sports fans in the nation.
All right, y'all know what to do. Go to Facebook, go to Twitter. @Cuse Militia is the universal handle for those. Go there and give us a like or whatever they do, and you can leave your comment after the game. I always ask for everybody's thoughts on the game. So, thoughts on the game. Here we go.
Yeah.
Now, there was a ton of them last night, and
Yes, there was.
it was a little overwhelming. It was really hard to pick 10. I think I got 11 on here, but @biggest Cuse fan. Now, it's arguable, but he says Barrett played like the number one pick in the draft, and O'Connell really gave Duke a lift in second option in the second half. Cuse had its opportunities, but it just was too much. It was just too much Duke at the end. So, yeah, Duke, they fed off of what they were doing to close that game out. They took advantage of pretty much almost every opportunity with Syracuse going down the court, being one and done. And, who knows if Syracuse didn't turn a couple of those balls over and made a couple of those shots. I think that's the difference. You're looking, you're looking at
they
it.
did get some turnovers there.
Yeah.
Even that one, even after the 6:43 mark, we get it to, I think it was 65-60, and we get a steal in the inbounds. And you score right there. It's a one possession game, but we messed it up.
Yeah.
So we just couldn't hit the shots. And Alex O'Connell and RJ Barrett, they did. It's really just what it comes down to. They hit the shots and we didn't.
Yeah. So, you gotta finish. You gotta close games out. I'm not telling you guys anything. This is the smartest audience in podcast. So, at Mr. Dodger 1966, what is there to say? Golden opportunity to be locked into the big dance missed. Now they will likely get blown out by North Carolina. They actually seem to place worse at play. I think he means play worse. They actually seem to play worse at home than on the road. A blown opportunity, probably. Be locked into March Madness, probably. They'll likely get blown out at North Carolina. I mean, who knows? Who knows? This guy, he's kind of negative all the time. He's like Bubba, or there's another one. But I don't know, Joe. You can agree with some of that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you can argue that still would have been the thought either way. North Carolina is one of the hottest teams in the country, and we just don't match up well usually traditionally against them. We have a tough time beating them. And so, yeah, I mean, that could be true. That could have been true if we beat Duke.
Right. So. Yeah. Mike, if not now when 84 gave him some grief back on that comment.
Okay.
At LWO Sports N something. I don't know. ... He says 14 and 53 from your 4-star players isn't going to win you any games. And you can't argue with that comment.
Nope.
No. Brissett, the biggest disappointment in my opinion, 3 for 13, shooting 3 3-pointers. The Duke defense was good, but Brissett's got to keep trying to play his game. And I just gave him a compliment last show, so I don't want to hear it from you. At Tony Cuse 44. Make shots and free throws. Played our C game. Takes an A game to beat Duke. We played our A game last time. I think Syracuse played really, really hard for about 35 minutes. They did. I thought they played really, really good for a lot of that. They still hung with Duke, even though they were shooting like crap for a good majority of the second half. And they were right there. They got themselves close again, and they blew it. So I'll give them a B. Tony, I think C's that's being a little tough on him. Tony too, by the way, at Tony Cuse 44. He entered a competition to win some tickets, and he has a pretty hilarious video. You can check that out on our Twitter timeline. It's pretty funny, I thought.
Yes, sir.
At Nick Sweetland 1, tough loss. The offense disappeared in those final 4 minutes. Too many free throws missed. We're seeing the trend. Still have a couple more opportunities to steal our ticket to the dance, or to seal our ticket to the dance. Yeah, and that's kind of my attitude. The offense started to fade. The missed free throws, when you got to have them, it's like when the pressure is on, they just can't handle it. Like, they can't handle making free throws when the pressure's on. And, we have opportunity against North Carolina. We got opportunities against Virginia. And you got to beat Wake Forest, and I think you got to beat Clemson. Right? I mean,
the weird thing and good thing, I guess, I mean, could be good, could be bad, but the thing about college basketball is that the bubble and the teams that make it, it's kind of created by the rest of the teams. Some years the bubble's deeper than others, and some years, you have a lot of, just kind of middle of the pack teams that don't really stick out, and you look at some of the conferences and they don't usually have, or don't have as many good teams, and you have some mid-majors that kind of balance it out. I think you see it starting to happen a little bit more, but this year especially, I mean, the bubble's so weak, man. Like, these teams that are even around the bubble or around us, I mean, they're losing probably games that they should be winning, games to go ahead and try to take the bull by the horns like everyone's talking about for our tournament lives. A bunch of teams around us, they're not doing it either. So the bubble's getting, I mean, we're losing. We've lost, even since NC State. I mean, we've lost 2 out of the last 3, and we still really haven't fallen from where we've kind of went up. So I mean, last time I checked the bracket matrix, go to bracketmatrix.com, and they have basically all of the legitimate bracket sites, or whichever sites that they follow. I don't know what their criteria is. And then they go and they take that average of all of those sites, and then they kind of show you where your team is. And I think the last time I checked, they had us in as like an 8 seed, I believe. So, and losing a game against Duke isn't going to change that. So
no, it's not. And we sit. Guess where we sit in the net? Oh, you might know. You know where we sit in the net rankings today?
Not off the top of my head, no.
44th. So, coincidence?
I don't know.
I don't know. So
yeah, bracket matrix as of 2/23, they still have us as an 8 seed.
Yeah, not where we want to be, right?
I mean,
according to your theory, which I agree with since you brought it up.
Well, there's still a long way to go.
I'll take it. So. I know, I'll take it, but I'm just saying. That's a tough seed, 8 seed.
8, it's definitely a tough seed, but you eventually have to beat ones at some point. So
absolutely,
depending on what mentality you have, that could end up not being that bad. So
right, and of course, if we get a 1 seed that's maybe outside of our conference, I think we have a better shot there. You know what I mean?
Just to give you kind of like a look at like these teams that we're looking at right now, like. Right now, with the 8 seeds right now with us, chucking Ole Miss, Baylor, Auburn. And then right now, it's the 7 seeds. They have Washington, Cincinnati, Buffalo, Iowa. I mean, those are the teams that are right up in front of us. And those teams we're comparable to are not really, So, the bubble is still, I mean, according to this, Clemson's still a 12 seed. I mean, Clemson is in the tournament right now. So if people are worried about us falling, look at some team like Clemson.
Right. Yeah. Joe P. on Facebook says, terrible shooting second half. 3 consecutive misses at the free throw line. Killed any momentum they had in coming back. On to the next one. Yeah, on to the next one. I'm trying to think. There was something else, too, that happened late. But... you mentioned one of the things I was going to mention already, which was that getting that steal off the inbounds pass and just laying an egg with it. I mean, you get, good opportunities like that. And, a tough game. Yeah. Look, it was the number 1 team in the nation. If it's not Duke, I'm not that upset. But because it was Duke, I was, pissed. I was so pissed. It took me a minute to calm down. And, that's just how I get Duke. I mean,
they played a lot better than expected. I thought their defense was going to be a little bit better, but I didn't know that they were going to shoot like that. I mean, O'Connell and Barrett. I mean, Barrett scored 30 points. He shot 14 of 20.
Yeah,
I mean, they
crazy.
were very, very high percentage. So if they just miss a couple shots, we're right there, And like we talk about, like what Joe was saying, the free throws. I mean, imagine looking at that score and having those extra 2, 3, 4 points that you could have easily had from the free throw line if you just shoot just an average percentage.
Yeah,
it's so frustrating, and you have that, and it can change the outcome of a game. So,
yep. Jermaine says, "I'll leave this game alone. It's been a tough week. Good luck against North Carolina." Well, yeah. After this segment, we're gonna leave this game alone and just move on, and maybe. Who knows? Maybe we can get a rubber match in the ACC tournament on a neutral court. That would be fun.
On a neutral court with them having everybody.
I mean, what
everybody healthy?
In the ACC tournament, I don't care. I'll take whoever in the ACC tournament. It does not matter to me.
What you don't understand, and what a lot of people don't understand, is playing a team like Duke and coming close. It doesn't hurt us. I mean, there's sometimes
I don't understand.
What
you said? What you don't understand? I understand that.
You get so upset about it, but you look.
I get upset on a personal level. I don't get upset on large scale for Syracuse's hopes of making it to the tournament. Not at all. I understand that.
It's rare. I mean, when we lose to a team like Duke or when we go to like North Carolina, it's a blip on the radar.
Yeah, exactly. I know that. I think we all get that, but we all hate Duke. We got a record crowd. We wanted to see them overcome the adversity that they were facing coming into this game. It was emotional for Coach. I mean, he was wiping tears away at the beginning of the game. And, I'm just saying you want to see a win.
Right.
That's all. I think that's a lot of what it comes down to for us. Now, of course, we're going to move on. It was a good game. Like I said, they played good for 34, 35 minutes. They played really good, I thought. I got to hand it to the guys. We're hard on them about their shooting down the stretch. That's what lost the game, and their free throws. That's what lost the game. But they played good. It's the number one team in the nation.
Yeah. No, they played good. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Twan is a Duke fan, and Twan says y'all just trash and got lucky the first game. Twan, keep it classy, buddy.
It's tough. I'd like to think that even being a Duke fan, with everything that's been going on, be a little bit more classier than that. But
well, you would think so. But you get
trash talking, whatever.
You get the
take
trolls.
it with a grain of salt.
Timothy says too many missed shots and free throws. Barrett and O'Connell made some huge shots. RJ got every bounce and roll off the rim. It was his night. Yeah, well, I mean, we didn't have anybody that really could contend with that level of talent, in my opinion. Just really, which would have been the same thing either way, kind of. The difference in the last game when Zion played was the other two guys out, plus Tyus was on fire.
No, you know that RJ Barrett, if he shoots enough, especially outside jumpers, he's going to make them. And there were some plays where he made Chukwu look like overmatched, like he couldn't even touch him because he's just so quick and got around him. But there were definitely some shots where there was somebody there, guy in his face, hand up, and the bounces that he got were kind of like, again, 14 for 20. Most people don't usually, even great players don't usually shoot that percentage. So he shoots 50% and we win. I mean, that's just, and 50% is good. So
right, it's really good.
And again, O'Connell shooting the way that he did. I mean, those two, they had nothing else. They had nothing for that defense. That's how good our defense was. Nobody else had really anything else other than a couple, over the top dump downs between, Deloria and Bolden. And I hate that they gave up so many offensive rebounds, especially late. But overall, the only thing they had was O'Connell shooting threes and what RJ Barrett was doing. And they had to shoot a crazy high percentage to make that happen. So, again, we didn't hit our shots, but
I know. Well, here's a great point by @1 Nash. Well, a lot of missed free throws. We know that. We've talked about that. Did not hit 10 plus threes. We talked about that in the last episode. They're 6-0 when they hit 10 plus threes. Now, they hit 5. If they had hit 10, they would have won. Yeah. They would have won. So, yeah, unfortunately, need 2 more wins, he says. #GoCuse. Yeah, it's tough because when when you look at it and we talked about it, Joe, you thought we needed one of these bigger wins, right? Is that still your contention, or what? You need
No, I said I thought we needed to win one out of the first three, and we did against Louisville.
Okay, all right, okay. So, with North Carolina, Wake Forest, Virginia, and Clemson left, in your opinion, are we getting through with a win against Wake Forest and Clemson? And those are the two easier games. I'm just choosing them because of that. It's a fact.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
you think so? Okay. Yeah. And that would give us the 11. And that's what we talked about at the beginning of the year, right? 10, 11, something like that would get us
right.
there. So, after
and not only would it give us 11, Sean, but it would also put us at 7-3 on the road for the season, which is pretty good. Yeah, the committee looks at stuff like that. So being 11-7 in the ACC and 7-3 on the road for the year, and there was some, like I said, we didn't make it a couple years back because of not having wins on the road. It was the year with Andrew White and Gillen. That was their main thing. They said didn't win on the road. Well,
right.
You can't say that. You can't say that this year. So.
Right. And we talked about they've never made it into the tournament after starting non-conference play with 4 losses. So 9-4 to start the year, and it'd be the first time ever, and they have a shot to do it, but they've got to finish strong.
They have a win. They have the best win you could possibly get.
They do, absolutely, beating number 1 on the road. So,
yep.
Steven says, yes, we are disappointed in the loss, and there are more than a few things we didn't do good enough to win the game, but it's just a game. Great thanks to AD, Wild Hack, and the university for the class and the way they handled the tragedy in the last few days. If anyone saw Jim Boeheim's press conference, kudos to him for how he handled his emotions and answered the questions about the last few days. Yes, we're not happy for losing the game, but we can be proud of how the university and Jim Boeheim have handled themselves in the light of these sad events. Yeah, I mean, to cap it all off, it is just a game, and, we'll move on to the next one, and I think that especially Jim Boeheim, I think he did everything right, and he did all he could do. And being that type of public figure in that community and having that go down, that's all he could do. So,
well, yeah, and it's great to see the support. There was a story out before the game talking about something about the family of the guy wasn't happy that Boeheim was coaching. Of course, you got to have people go and try to stir that up. But
right.
I thought overall they showed respect and a moment of silence and everything at the game. Obviously the Boeheims are visually emotional, and just to be able to have everyone come out and support the whole situation. Obviously, there's only so much you can say. There's only so many times you can apologize. How long do you sit out? How long do you stay out of work? Everyone kind of, deals with certain things. There's certain own ways, and not to downplay it or anything, but Jim Boeheim grew up. His father, I believe, worked in a morgue. So there's some people that sometimes just grow up with certain things that, I'm not going to say it's going to bother him, because it doesn't bother him, because he came out and he said it's going to follow him for the rest of his life, because it's a different story. But everyone deals with stuff differently, and he thought he should have done that. He went out and coached, and the players were out there busting their tails. I thought Duke showed some respect. They were classy, even with the win, and the fans came out and supported them the best they could. So
yeah, and it's should be out of the public for the most part now, as far as the things surrounding the games, and it's between Jim Boeheim and with his family and the Jimenez family, and that
right.
should be it, right?
Yeah,
So you always
I think that they can figure out the rest behind closed quarters without having
without it being a media spectacle. And shame on Syracuse.com for their initial headline too. I don't know if I mentioned that last time, but they're a disgrace. I mean, what a joke. But anyway, okay. So fan feedback. Thank you guys for participating. There was a ton. It was really hard to choose. What I wanted to do, but there was a kind of a thread with the same type of stuff. So whoever said it best got chosen, I guess. A lot of it was the same stuff. But, real quick, fan feedback is brought to us by MyBookie. If you've never bet online and you are interested in betting online, I would recommend MyBookie. Always do your own research, but if you have bet online, you know what you're getting into, go to MyBookie. They have in-game live betting, the most rewarding player perks in the business, and for all the fantasy guys out there, you can even bet over-under on how many fantasy points a player will score each game. Join them now, and they will match your deposit dollar for dollar by using the promo code Cuse25 when you activate that offer. Visit MyBookie today. That's MyBookie, and don't forget to use the promo code Cuse25 when you create your account. Claim up to $1,000 in free play. You play, you win, and you get paid. All right, Joe. So here's the deal. UNC will host Syracuse this Tuesday, February 26th at 9 p.m. Just a stellar start time. It should finish close to midnight. The Tar Heels, they would win the first meeting in 1957 against the Orange, 67-58. The all-time series right now sits at 4-11 in favor of UNC. Because of the 7-game losing streak that the Orange are on against North Carolina, we have to look all the way back to January 11th, 2014, their first ACC meeting, to see when the last time they beat UNC was. They actually held UNC's offense to 45 points, winning 57-45. The starting lineup that day: Ennis, Cooney, Christmas, Grant, and Fair. Last March, when we met them, they took us out of the ACC tournament, actually, 78-59. Brissett had 20 points and 10 rebounds. This year, North Carolina sits third in the ACC, 22-5 overall, 12-2 in ACC play. They are currently sixth in the net, and they might be probably, like Coach said in his presser, they might be one of the hottest teams in the conference right now. So I'll let Joe give you all the player specifics, but as a team, they're pretty hot from the floor, like really hot. 47.4%, 37.6 from three, and 74% from the line. So it's and Cam Johnson, I mean, he's just a maniac. So
yeah, well, Cam Johnson's been killing us for years, even back from when he played in Pittsburgh. So he is a problem because he can shoot threes, and he's about 6'8", 6'7". So he's been playing really, really well.
From three, obviously, he's 47%.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And again, I think that's why North Carolina usually they do pretty well against us, because they usually have tall athletes who can shoot threes, plus big men who can kind of dominate down low, and usually a guard that can take care of the ball pretty well, and that's kind of what they have this year. They're not as tall or big as they normally have been in the past with their centers, but again, you have three seniors with Cam Johnson, Kenny Williams, and Luke May, and then their other starters, Garrison Brooks, he's a 6'9" sophomore. He's just been getting better as the season's gone. And Kobe White, their point guard, he's a little off and on as far as his shot, but I know that he's scored over 30 points a whole bunch of times, and he's definitely one of the faster players in the country, and he's predicted to. Well, right now he's, I think, still predicted to get drafted in the first round next year in the NBA. It's like a one and done. So their starting five is really, really good, and they get some good stuff off the bench from Nas Little, Brandon Robinson, and other guards. So they kind of are guard oriented, but again, with Cam Johnson being as tall as he is, they can kind of get away with it. So. They're just very, very. Their starting five, top 5, 6 are just very, very good, and that's kind of what they run at you. And again, playing at North Carolina, and like you said, haven't beat them since the first time we played them. So, not really looking forward to this one.
I mean, this one's going to be. I know this one's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tougher than the game we just played, and on a positive note, though. I'm gonna be interested in see what the spread is, but on a positive note, Syracuse has rebounded from bad games. They did it. They've done it all year, in fact. I mean, if you really think about the Louisville game after the NC State embarrassment, And then the Duke game after the Georgia Tech embarrassment. And I know that, one was road, one was home. And, it's kind of a different story going into UNC. But not for anything, if history of the year is telling a tale, maybe they have a shot.
I mean, again, I just think it comes down to the inconsistency of shooting.
Well,
it's
exactly.
I think we have a shot every game if we shoot good.
That's true. Yeah. Well, I mean,
if
any team can say that, though, right?
Well, and sometimes if our offense doesn't do well enough, then it trickles down into our defense. And that's when you start getting the blowouts, and that's kind of what our losses in the ACC have looked like up to this point. So, we obviously got to stay close, and we got to hit our shots. So we know that they're going to be able to put up some points, and just got to try to stick with them.
Yeah.
I don't think that we've.
Well, it's not rocket science, right?
Well, yeah, but that's just what every game's been. I don't think that we've been overwhelmed or wowed by any team this year. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think our guys are confident, and they don't think that there's too many teams out there better than them, if any. But it just comes out to going out and executing and making them. And when they go down, they go down. But again, I just think that there's some deficiencies on our team that some of these really good.
Pascal's had like one or two good games all year. Frank Howard's like one of the most, he's either there or not. I think he got 11 minutes against Louisville. I think he played less than 20 against Duke. And
yeah, I mean, I'm not even saying like a great or good like offensive like big man, but just above average score, offensive skill wise for a center. Last night, the way that they played defense on us should have got 25 points, 20 points. The amount of times that they could have just drove and just dished it off to the center because they just were leaving Pascal wide open, and that's again.
It's so terrible. He did get one.
I mean,
pass,
he got a couple. Alley-oop. I mean, I know Brissett threw one up to Dolce, and he got the one from Frank Howard. Chukwu did for the alley-oop.
And so I didn't mention Chukwu, but he did score 8 points. So
he wasn't awful.
No, he wasn't awful last night. He was just outmatched.
The problem is that now we're judged. Well, we're judging his performances basically by our expectations as a fan compared to like his bad games.
Right.
So now we're just looking for anything to kind of grasp onto to kind of justify him playing.
Yeah.
Or us wanting him. I think everyone watching knows Dolce. We'd rather have Dolce in there, but the size-wise, it's not always the best matchup. Mm-hmm. And he tends to get in foul trouble.
He tends to get in foul trouble because of his size, I think. He's trying to make up for his size by being more aggressive, which is what he's got to do if he wants to be effective. So
yeah. They got to call the plays, I'd say.
Right.
They got to call the fouls.
That is true. Okay, well, that's it, Joe. You got anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to hit up the.
Hit up the quadrants real quick. Where are we?
The revamped quads. It's quads were after yesterday, the 23rd. So, had a little bit of movement. Old Dominion, by winning their game, they got up to 75 in the net rank. So, that's actually fallen to a quad 2 loss. So currently, right now, they got a quad 4. We are 4-0. Quad 3, we are 6-1. With that one loss being Georgia Tech at home, and quad 2 is 5-3, and we are 3-5 in quad 1. So
it's a pretty solid resume right now.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, we have one with again Georgia Tech. They'd have to make a nice little jump to get down to a quad 2 loss.
I just think that's just going to be the one blemish that we can't. We're just going to have to live with this year.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, we talked about it, and again, I'm just so glad that we turned around and won that game at Duke to be able to try to turn that around.
It washed it out for sure.
And it's hard to, especially if you're not a ranked team, then most likely, if you're not a ranked team in a Power 5 conference, then your quad 1 record's probably not going to be above 500. So you got to be able to win some of those games. And again, right now we're 3-5, but we do have 2 more quad 1. Actually, 3 more quad 1 games ahead of us. So, but Wake Forest has really, really fallen. I mean, they fell to the net, I think 192.
192, and that game is at Wake Forest, right?
Yeah, so that would be a quadrant 3 loss, and it'd be worse than Georgia Tech.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
So,
but they're all yeah, exactly.
Looking at it, that's the one. That's the one we definitely have to get.
All right, hey, be on the lookout. There's going to be an extra episode that's going to drop sometime this week, maybe Tuesday. I don't know, the day of the game. I don't know. I don't want to put it too close to us doing a post game and preview, but just be on the lookout for it. The history of Syracuse mascots, and thank you to JP Mulligan's. Go there every Monday through Friday, happy hour 4 to 6, and then in the bat specials during the SU games. Thanks to Armchair All-Americans, Tix Blitz, and my bookie, and all of you as always. We really appreciate you on the socials and listening, and just awesome. I love when we interact with you guys in DMs or on Twitter.
Yeah,
it's cool, man.
It's fun going down and reading all the,
Yeah, and it's cool, meeting people on social media that I've talked to that I don't even know, like Mike. If not now, when I've never met. You've met Mike in person, but I haven't. And It's like, it's cool meeting people like that, and they're all SU fans, all diehard SU fans. If you listen to this show, you're a diehard SU fan. No average SU fans listening to a Syracuse podcast.
Yeah, most likely not.
So thank you all. We appreciate it. We'll be back after the UNC game. Keep the fingers crossed on that. Can Syracuse bounce back? It would be huge. Let's stay positive. The game, at the very worst, if it's a loss, is not the end of the world. So let's just pump your brakes now. And hope for the worst, or hope for the best. Hope for the worst.
Oh God, you're that guy.
No, but all right, that's it for Joe. I'm Sean. We're out.
Hey.
Thanks for listening to the Cuse Militia Podcast, the fan's voice with Sean and Joe.